Welcome back to The Joy of Vinyl. I'm Rick Coste. Today we are going to talk about master tapes. What are they? Well, as you're about to find out, it's a little bit of a gray area when we talk about master tapes. Let's go check it out.
You'll often see hype stickers and ad copy promoting a reissue of a previously released album. Those stickers or ad copy will often say, remastered from the original masters. But what does this actually mean? What's so special about original masters anyway? Well, to be honest, the casual listener may not care much about the process or the source behind the music they're listening to. Just the fact that someone seemed to care enough to advertise that the recording came from the original masters is enough for them. And that's okay. Music is meant to be enjoyed. To a subset of those listeners, the phrase remastered from the original masters means a lot. To some, a master recording is the Holy Grail, the OG. To explain a little further, when an artist or a band steps into the studio, there are many ways they can be recorded. They can lay down separate tracks individually or capture a performance in its entirety using a series of well-placed mics. In many cases, those individual tracks are mixed down and combined to create the final arrangement. The same goes for the series of mics that we use to capture the performance. Each mic typically exists on its own track, which is then mixed down by the audio engineer. These final mixes become the first generation master tape. There can be only one. Well, that's not entirely true. There can be more than one original master tape. Think of it this way. Think of twins. An engineer may choose to mix the final version down to 2 or more tapes simultaneously. The engineer will inevitably ship one off to storage for safekeeping, and the other will be used, or others will be used for future generations. But a majority of recording sessions will only produce one master tape. Before being sent away to the vaults, it will immediately be copied. And depending on how it is copied, this will result in a series of second or third generation tapes. These working copies, or sometimes they're called production copies, are distributed to kick off the production process. And for this discussion, we'll leave it there. We don't need to get into the production process itself. Just know that the production process will result in generations far removed from the OG that's stashed away in the vault. It is that one, the OG that's stashed away in the vault, that future engineers will desperately yearn for to create new masters or second-generation masters for their projects. The thing is, with each copy, a tiny bit of information is lost. The same goes for each time the original master is played to create those copies. Everything degrades over time, and this process is sped up with every pass of a magnetic head, whether the intent is to play or to copy. Is the master tape truly the original? This is where the waters of audio engineering become muddy. The final result is known as the master. But what about the instance where the artists recorded their parts separately or where their performances were captured separately? Weren't those performance tapes of the artist performing separate from the group the original sources? Doesn't that make the master tape first generation in name only? Well, yeah, it does. Now, if you want to be completely honest about it, the tape used to capture the performance is the original. The final mix is a copy of that performance. And as I mentioned, with every copy comes a drop in sound quality whether or not it's discernible. Here's an example of how complicated this can get. Not too long ago, artists only had 4 tracks to work with. I used to go through the same thing with my Tascam back in the 1990s. I only had 4 tracks. And think of each track as a separate tape. For some sessions, this is enough if you just have, say, a singer, a guitarist, a bass player, and a drummer. But not so much if you want to get creative, as the Beatles or the Beach Boys did in the late 60s, and which many bands did thereafter. This is where it gets tricky, and audio producers have to plan how they record. With only 4 tracks to play with, this means you will be faced with multiple bounces. Bouncing is the term that's used when an engineer moves or bounces 2 or more tracks to one, thus freeing those tracks up that they were originally on in order to add more to the song being produced. The combined track may be bounced again later in the process, and so on and so forth multiple times. Now, technically speaking, each bounce creates a new generation and destroys the first if its track is used to record a new instrument. Which it would, because why would you bounce in the first place? So, is your brain hurting yet? I don't blame you, because it is complicated, and the industry gets around this by stamping the final mix with the master tape honor and dubbing it first generation. Well, now let's muddy the waters a little bit more. Let's say you want to re-release U2's first album and remaster it from the original master tape. You certainly don't want to ship the OG. That's been safe in a vault for the last few decades. What's easier? Copying it to a second generation tape and paying to package and ship it across the country, or creating a digital copy and uploading it to a secure file server for the audio engineer to retrieve. It seems like a no-brainer, doesn't it? The thing is, they often claim reissues produced from those digital copies to be sourced from the original master tapes. It's really a game of omission. The digital file was sourced from the original master, but the record, the pressing, was sourced from the digital source. Man, the digital middleman is conveniently left out of the equation. So basically, the middleman remains a dirty little secret. So these are extremely murky waters to navigate. Knowing this should not change how you enjoy your music. Now, if you've come this far without hitting the pause button or deleting this episode, it means you care enough to understand at least a little about what goes into making the records that you love. I say a little because there are so many hidden nuances and exceptions that it literally boggles the mind. So I hope this helped in understanding the term master tape and what it kind of means. So until next time, enjoy your records.